Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this HP laptop model 14-CF1015CL. So the customer kind of broke some pieces, and yeah, so the cover here is missing on the back. But yeah, and both these rubber feet are missing. But anyways, you'll remove the 3 screws under here using a PH1 or a J1 screwdriver. So there's 1, 2, 3. Alright, and then underneath this rubber piece there's another screw here, so 4, and then there's 2 here, so 6 screws total. Just remove all those screws. Once you do that, let's see, so right now the screen bezel is removed because the screen is broken. They do hold it in place with adhesive, so it is a little bit difficult to get the bezel off, but you'll see when I put it back on. It's very similar to most other laptops that I work on, so if you need to replace your screen, you can watch those videos, but I'll just show how to put it back. Alright, so once you do that, underneath, let me see if I can show this. So here, between the dark gray or black layer and the bottom cover, you want to get your fingernails or pry tool. So I'll do that, and then I pry it up by pushing with my thumbs on the back, and that pops the cover off. If you use a pry tool, you just kind of pry it out that way. Okay, then just go all the way around. Okay, usually you do this with the screen closed like this, and then you just work your way around just like this. Okay, so the back part is a little more difficult, but once you get the whole front and the sides undone, you just gotta work the cover. You kind of have to wiggle it, so hold the bottom layer down and then kind of work this, so this, alright, and then you can kind of wiggle it and pull it out. Alright, so there you go. That's how you remove the bottom cover. Okay, after you do that, you want to take the battery out, so remove the screws holding it in place. It looks like there's 3 screws, though there probably should be 4. I don't know if that's because they dropped it or damaged it and it's missing pieces, but actually there's 3 at the top, so there's one here, there's another one here, and then there's one on this side. Okay, let's remove those 3 screws. Alright, and then there's one in this corner. So I'm just going based on what's here. Yours might be a little bit different because they damaged it quite a bit. But once you get that, then you want to lift this up. Okay, and then pull this back. Oh, someone's calling me. Give me a second, I'll be back. Alright, sorry about that. Customer was dropping off their computer. But anyways, after you remove the battery, you want to open the screen, but do it carefully because the hinges are missing screws now. Okay, so just open it slowly. And then you want to press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds just to drain any power, just in case so you don't damage anything. Alright. Alright, so once you do that, you can close the laptop back. Again, do it slowly and gently. Okay, so under here you got the RAM. There is an extra slot here, but right now there's only one stick of RAM, and it's 8 gigs PC4 2666V. So you can put a matching stick to get better performance. 8 gigs, alright, PC4 2666V. So to put the RAM, you just put it at an angle like this. Alright, and then you make sure it's pushed all the way in and then slot it down. It should clip in place and hold itself. Alright, you got the M.2 SSD. Let me see what type this is. So you take the screw out, it pops up at an angle, and then you can kind of wiggle and pull this back. Okay, this says this is an NVMe SSD, so yeah, so you can put a larger M.2 SSD in here if you wanted to upgrade it. Okay, you do need to clone over your SSD first before swapping it, or you'll have to do a clean install of the operating system. Okay, so put that back. Those are the main things. There's a wireless card here with one antenna. To pull it out, you just go from the tail just like every other one, and then you just pull it straight up. Alright, to put it back, make sure you get it lined up. Sorry, I'm kind of not zooming in and stuff on this one because I need to kind of fix this quick for my customer and return it. But line this up. Alright, and then once you got it lined up, you just push it back down. got a lot of videos showing how this is done, so if you're not sure, you can watch my other videos. Okay. Alright, then you got this for the trackpad. I don't know if there's lights on here, but the trackpad buttons, there's the cable here. So you just flip this little latch up and then you can pull the cable out. I'm going to leave that in. And then for the trackpad, it goes through this board as well. So this is for the entire trackpad. You got the keyboard connector here, same thing. You flip up these latches, then you can pull the connector out. Alright, and then you got the keyboard backlight cable. You got the speaker connector here. You got the DC jack charge port connector here. You got the LCD or LVDS connector here. What else? And then you got this connector for this board, which is the USB-C and the SD card slot, it looks like. Yep. Okay, and then you got the fan. Looks like 2 screws holding it in place, and the fan connector here. This connector, you just kind of go all on the wings. And then let's see if I can do this. Okay, so usually I just use my fingernails at the wings, and then I kind of just wiggle the connector and just keep wiggling it. Alright, see, wiggle, 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 and it pops out like that. Okay, so that's how you remove the fan connector if you need to do that. Alright, okay, so now I need to go and do the screen. So everything else I think I already did. I think the CMOS battery, there isn't one, it's integrated. It uses the regular battery as the CMOS battery. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do the screen. So I already popped out the bezel, as well as I removed, there's these stretch adhesives that go underneath, and then when you pull it, it peels out the adhesive. So I'm gonna just take the screen out now, but the adhesives, they go underneath here, and they're pretty difficult to remove because they actually tuck it slightly underneath the hinge. I'm not gonna tuck them back under there, but basically to get that out, you can use little tweezers or a needle, and you just get underneath there's like a black plastic piece, and you pull that up, and then you can take it out. So I'll show you when I put back the stuff. But yeah, and anyways, also here they lost 2 letters, so we took these keys that they weren't going to use, which is like the page up, page down, and we put them over here. Alright, anyways, now that I got the bezel off and the adhesives, I'm gonna let the screen fall forward. Okay, so this is a BOE NT140WHM-N34. If you need to replace your screen, you want to check your screen. You don't want to just go based off what I have, because your screen could be different, and if you use the wrong one, it might not work. Okay, so basically after that, we want to peel up this. Alright, it's kind of a pain. This screen's already broken, so it's okay if you put too much pressure and damage it, but usually if you do this on yours, if your screen isn't broken, you want to be very careful. Though this kind, if you do peel out the screen or the bezel, you're very likely going to damage the LCD, so you probably don't want to attempt this unless it's broken. Alright, actually let me zoom in on this, sorry. My phone might overheat, it's getting really hot. But anyways, after you peel up the adhesive, you want to get some tweezers or use your fingernails and then pull the connector back, just like that. Right, we're gonna get the screen, set it aside. Then we'll take the replacement. So here you will see how you have to reattach this. Actually, let me put the adhesives in first. So I'm gonna leave that outside. Okay, so let me show you the adhesives. I'm gonna put this upside down actually. Okay, so that way it's easier for me. Zoom back out. Okay, there we go. All right, so the adhesives, I'm gonna bring them down. So these adhesives, they work based on stretching. So when you stretch them out, then they release. So the adhesive looks like this, okay? And there's a little plastic tab at the end here, which sits underneath the hinge. Again, I'm gonna leave it on top, and then I'm just gonna put this here. So usually you'd probably want to replace this adhesive if you can get a hold of replacements, but these aren't very common types of adhesives. if your adhesive strip like this one, it has like a part where it folded in on itself. If you can't get it to separate, what you're gonna have to do, so I'll show you, basically to remove this kind of adhesive is you just stretch it. So when it's underneath the screen, you want to pull it straight back. Like, you don't want to lift it up, you want to pull it straight back. All right, but anyways, if the adhesive has like folds like this in here, then I'm gonna have to cut them off so that way it won't put pressure on the back of the screen. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut this damaged part of the adhesive off. Okay, and rip off the excess just like that, so that way it won't cause problems inside the computer. Okay, so I'm just gonna tear off that broken stuff just like that. And if you cut it like at a curve, then it should be okay to reuse, that it's not gonna break when you try and use it. All right, so again, I'm leaving the tab on top, and then just make sure that the adhesive is kind of on there. You don't have to really completely press it down, but you want it so it stays in place, so when you're putting the screen in, it won't fall out. Okay, so same thing with the other side. Okay, let me grab the other piece of adhesive. So we got the other piece of adhesive here. Okay, this one, the plastic was kind of coming out, but hopefully it should be okay. All right, so just again, put it like that, line it up, and drop it in place. All right, oh, I need to line it back up, I think. Okay. Just drop it in place. All right, so there we go. Doesn't need to be perfect. So I'll show you how the screen, it has this metal frame on the back, and that's what the adhesive sticks to. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the computer back over, make sure the screen is open. But as I was saying with the adhesive, when you peel it out, you want the screen open, and you peel this adhesive, you pull it straight back to stretch it. And yeah, so when you pull it, what I do is I pull it, and then while it's stretched, I grab closer, and then I pull this, and then I let go, and I grab this, and I just keep switching until all the adhesive comes out. It stretches really far. All right, so now we're gonna replace the screen. So let's zoom in. Hopefully I can actually get this without knocking over all the screws. Let's see, okay, there we go. So I don't know how far I can zoom in and make it visible. There we go. Okay, so take the connector and then just make sure to slot it in just like this. Okay, keep the connector flat and then pull it in. All right, you want to make sure both sides go in all the way. Sometimes it goes slightly crooked, so you want to make sure that when you pull it in, that the entire connector is going this side. For some reason, it doesn't want to go on the right hand side of the connector. So make sure, let's pull this in. There we go. Okay, so you want to make sure both sides are completely in. If you try and turn it on when it's not in properly, then you can actually fry the screen and possibly even fry the motherboard, so you want to be very careful. Okay, so then put that adhesive back down. Okay, so once you got that in place, you want to turn the screen over. Okay, like this. And usually I like to line up the top half first, the top area, because sometimes it can drop down and then it can be too far down. Okay, so there we go. All right, and then you just make sure, push lightly to get the adhesive to stick to the back, and then you should see that the screen holds itself in place. See, it's not falling out. Okay, so that's that. Oops, the speaker fell out. Let me put that back in. There we go. Okay, so now we got the screen in. I'm gonna put the the battery in just to make sure everything is working. I might have to plug the computer in. Sometimes on these models, if you take the battery out, let's get the dust off the battery. Sometimes if you take the battery out, you will have to, oops, sorry, I'm blocking it with my head. You will have to plug it in or it's not going to turn on. Okay, so for the battery, just make sure you line it up right. Okay, then push it down. Get all of these pieces lined up right. So I don't know why this side of the screw, it doesn't have the thing and it doesn't line up completely right, but we'll just put it back. Okay. There we go. So now just put back the 4 screws. So you got the one up here in this corner. Oh, and the battery model is HT03XL, just in case you needed that. Let me show you up close. HT03XL. Hopefully you can read that. Okay. All right, so let's put back all the screws. If you took out other components, make sure you have everything connected properly before you put in the battery. All right. If you want the HP spare part number, I think they give you a number here, L11119-855. So let me show you that as well. So this is the HP spare part number. I don't know if you can even read that. L11119-855. Okay. All right. So I got all of that in. Let's see if it will turn on or if I need to plug it in. So open it slowly. Okay. We'll push the power button. It did flash, so I think it's turning on. It's probably going to complain about the BIOS like I was mentioning earlier. Once I make sure it turns on, I'll remove this protective thing. Okay, so the computer might take a while to turn on. There you go, it's turning on. There you go, it says CMOS reset. Press enter to reboot the system. So it looks like it's good. I'm gonna peel this off. Okay. Toss that aside. All right, so here you go. Here you can see that it is working. Okay, so I'm gonna just shut it down now. I just realized the replacement screen is matte, not glossy. I don't know if they'll mind. Some people mind. If they do mind, I'm gonna have to replace it, but yeah. All right, so right now I'm gonna put the bottom cover on first, so I don't have to worry about messing with stuff on the bottom. Okay, so to put the bottom cover on, just line it all up. Okay, be careful with the ports on the side because the plastic might get caught on it, but there you go. And then you just snap it all in place. Okay, there we go. Make sure it's all snapped in place and then put the screws back in. Since these are hinge screws, I am going to add some thread locker. I like to add thread locker on the hinge screws just so they don't come back out and come loose. Okay, on the screws on the inside of the hinge, I actually added thread locker as well, just because I didn't want to risk them coming loose. They were a tiny bit loose, but not really. But once those screws come loose, they can tear the rivets, or I don't know what those things are called. They have little threaded like nuts or bolts that are just in the plastic, and if the screws come loose, then that can actually, those can get ripped out, and then that breaks the hinge mechanism. Okay, uh-oh, my phone's overheated.